Drew Faust, the president of Harvard University, now joins us here at our NDTV studio in Davos to talk about one dominant theme that was clearly occupying center stage at the sessions this year: education. Pleasure to have you with us, Pam.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Let's talk about education and how it's gaining prominence at global platforms like Davos. Do you think the need to redefine education, a transformation in education, especially higher education, is something that's gaining prominence?
Well, I think education has enormous prominence in the minds of people here at Davos and in the minds of leaders around the world, because knowledge is the currency of the 21st century, and economic growth, social mobility, personal satisfaction, all our personal fulfillment, personal strength, and the ability to be full members of societies, all of this is so closely related to educational opportunity. And we all recognize the need for dramatic expansion in educational access. And so I think in just about every country around the world, this is a high priority for attention. And so it's a high priority here at Davos, where, of course, this is the World Economic Forum, and education is so closely linked with economic success.
Absolutely, and in India particularly, education is gaining prominence as one of the missing pieces in the puzzle. Why India, given its demographic dividend, really needs to focus on education. But it's not just education. We have to move forward and talk about quality of education, where in India particularly there are concerns that we're not providing enough quality education. How do we make that transformation from mere education to quality education?
I was in India just about this time last year having conversations on this subject of education in India with many people around the country, people in business, people in government. And something I think very much on people's minds was this issue of the demographic dividend, that there is a population surge in the area of youth in India, but that will be beneficial only if those individuals are educated to become really highly productive members of society. So some of the numbers that people gave to me were like the following. About 13% of Indians currently finish some kind of higher education.
Right.
And there's a goal to elevate that to 20% over the next 5 to 7 years. And that might mean several thousands of new institutions to provide that education. So how is that possible, and how can others of us in other parts of the world help contribute to that? So I think that it is a big question, and one that I hope that Harvard can have a role in contributing to. We have a new initiative at Harvard together with MIT in providing online education through what have come to be called MOOCs, massive open online courses. And we just began this initiative in May, have offered the first courses this past fall. And I was just delighted in one particular area where I'd focused some attention on my visit to India, the area of public health, to see that a course that we offered in public health, where it was clear to me there was enormous demand in India for knowledge and ways to address health issues across the nation. We offered as one of our initial online courses a course in biostatistics and epidemiology, and 53,000 people around the world took that course. 9,000 of them were India.
Okay.
And so I think this is the
that just shows the need
for, and the hunger and the appetite and the ability to scale a kind of educational initiative that really can have a big impact.
Absolutely, and that brings me to the other question on technology and how technology is changing education in a big way. Share with us some of it, because for like you mentioned, online, I mean, you're talking about no barriers now.
Well, we're thinking a lot as we go through the process of inventing edX. What we learned from this first course, how did it work? Well, one of the things we're seeing is that when people take these courses, they have a tremendous hunger to also interact with one another. They do that online, but they also want to meet one another.
Absolutely.
The drive to be face-to-face with your fellow students is very powerful. And so we saw an instance of 150 of the students taking this public health course, gathering together in Mumbai to talk about the course, a kind of flash mob of public health students, if that makes any sense.
So it has to be, you're saying, a combination of technology and the traditional methods.
Well,
is that right?
I think people want to understand how to use these things together. I think online can be terrific in many ways, but I think we also have to think about how to bring these methods back into our traditional institutions in Cambridge, Massachusetts, at Harvard University, as well as seeing how students themselves invent new ways to use them as they experiment with online learning.
Skill development is another area which is being talked about as, again, the next big thing, because not only have you got to educate people, you also have to ensure that we're moving towards a skilled workforce. How do the two really juxtapose?
Well, when I think about skill development, I think about how skills and the need for skills change so constantly and so rapidly in our society. And I think one of the lessons we're learning about education is it's not just for youth in the 21st century. We all need to figure out how to be continuously educated during our whole lifetimes, because the skills that fit a job in 2013 are not going to be necessarily, and it's highly unlikely that they will be the skills that will fit you for a job 25 years from now, when you still will be in the workforce. So I think it makes us have to consider ways of delivering education continuously over a lifetime, and seeing education as something that's for people at every stage of the life cycle, not just for those launching into the workforce for the first time.
All right, so clearly a lot of adaptation that is needed both in the education world with technology coming in. Share with us also Harvard's association with India. How significant is it?
We have a long and very valued relationship with India. We have about 250 students from India at Harvard now. We have 1,700 alumni in India, and we have a lot of faculty and students who are involved in programs and research in India. At this very moment, we have about 36, I think, faculty and students at Kumbh Mela, studying everything from what can this tell us about urbanization to see a city emerge overnight. Right. How is it organized? Big questions about some of the religious aspects of Kumbh Mela. How do we see insights into psychology and to how people operate in groups from being part of and observing Kumbh Mela? So that's one very exciting research project that's going on at this very moment. Last year when I was in India, I was very excited by a project that I visited in Mumbai, where one of the faculty from our Graduate School of Design was working together with faculty from our Kennedy School of Government, our business school, with a group of students from all those schools, looking at an area of Mumbai that was being considered for redevelopment. And there were people of very low income living there. There were dock areas and reclaimed land areas. And these faculty and students worked together to develop plans that would be interesting proposals for how to move development and sustained economic growth in an area like that in Mumbai. So it was a tremendous learning experience for our students to interact with officials and others in India, and to interact with their fellow students from different parts of Harvard University.
So more and more Indians are now wanting to study at universities like Harvard. Delegates we've been talking to here in Davos clearly say India is a market they can't afford to ignore. Would that hold true for educational institutions as well?
Well, we think that your demographic dividend and the very large numbers of highly talented students in India are a very important source of talent for our institution, which wants to support talent and nurture talent. So yes, we look to India for students, for faculty, and for very important connections.
Drew Faust, many, many thanks for talking to us. It's been such a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you for having me.
India's #1 news app just got even better. Download NDTV's new app. Fully optimized for Retina display. Full screen view. Faster response time. And Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.